We're heading out to the hotline. We go from a marathon baseball game to a triathlon champion. Without further ado, former winner of the Ironman Triathlon. He is Tim DeBoom. Tim, first of all, I appreciate your time today. Welcome in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And as we were just kind of discussing a bit of a marathon baseball game last night, you guys like you, I guess, laugh at marathons, huh?
Oh, no, never. You got to take them seriously. It's a marathon's always a marathon. It's a long time to be out there.
And as it relates to the triathlon or the next upcoming, and of course, well, you're here today to talk about the Columbia Triathlon, right? So tell us first of all, I guess, where it is that folks can find out a little bit more information about this. And I guess this one already a rousing success, but Columbia has a marathon schedule of sorts. Am I right there?
Yeah, they've got a good schedule of races throughout the summer, and this is kind of their really big kickoff for the year. I think it's the 30th anniversary of the Columbia Tri. So they can find all the information at tricolumbia.org, and it's a pretty amazing event. It's been going on for a long time.
When we talk about it, is this like, we look at other sports, and I guess oftentimes some tend to fall below the radar for us, but is this one of the things like, a season-long competition where you go from contest to contest and essentially see similar faces, if not 100% the same across?
Definitely. I mean, the sport's grown a ton in the past 20, 30 years, so, you do see new faces at every race, I mean, from international athletes and such, but at a race like Columbia, it's nice to get there and see the familiar faces, and you are racing against familiar competitors for the most part, but it is kind of week in, week out at this shorter distance racing.
Is this, and I guess to compare it to like a racing circuit or something like that, when we start to talk about monthly or semi-weekly events, whatever the case may be, are there certain ones that we circle on the calendar as being, I don't want to call them the Super Bowls, but as being maybe a little bit more important, a little bit more prestigious than the others?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the championship part of the season is at the end of the season, so you've got your Ironman Hawaii World Championships is in October, and the half Ironman World Championships is in September and August. So this is still the beginning of the year, but everybody, it's like any sport. There's always somebody who's hot, and you're always trying to be at the top no matter what time of year it is.
Is this something that, as you talk about the season and the like, where we keep track of standings and that type of thing throughout?
Yeah, at the Ironman distance, they now have standings, and then there's also at the Olympic level, which is, in preparation for the Olympic Games next year, there's definitely a ranking and standing system, so points do matter.
Tim, for the naive among us, what's the difference between Olympic triathlon and Ironman triathlon?
Boy, about 6.5 hours. The Olympic distance is, the top guys are pushing an hour 40 to a 2 hour, and at Ironman you're anywhere from 8 to 8.5 hours for the top guys. But, distance-wise, the Olympic is about a mile swim, a 25-mile bike, and a 10K run, and then the Ironman moves all the way up to about a 2.5-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a full marathon at the end. So it's pretty different.
Tim, what is it that leads someone to try this type of thing? I imagine your first one you kind of embrace as a challenge based on athleticism and the like. But tell me, what is it that leads someone to become a triathlete first of all?
I think it takes, I think a lot of people are just looking for that next kind of challenge in their life. I mean, I grew up a competitive swimmer, and when I knew I wasn't going to make the Olympics, I didn't want to just quit sports altogether, and there wasn't really a professional swimming circuit at the time, so I had some friends that were doing some triathlons, and that's how I got into it, and it kind of grew into what I'm doing now. But I think for the most part, it's kind of taking the place of, corporate America. There was always that, let's go run a marathon or a 10K, and now I think triathlon has kind of taken that role as the next thing that people want to do. It's a challenge.
With a background in swimming, what would you say was the most difficult leg for you initially, and is that still the case?
I'm glad I didn't have to learn to swim as an adult. I've been swimming since I was 6, and I watch some people struggle with it now, and I'm glad that's not me. But initially, it was the run part. I was always a good runner, but coming from a swimming background, you're not used to that weight bearing of running and pounding your legs, so I tended to get injured before I kind of figured things out a little bit and helped myself back a little bit.
Talking with former Ironman Triathlon Champion Tim DeBoom. He'll be competing in the Columbia Triathlon, brought to us or produced by Tri-Columbia, and I would encourage folks to go to tricolumbia.org for information on this event and the rest of the schedule as well. Tim, for many athletes, I guess, and I think of a couple of boxers, mixed martial artists that endeavor to take on triathlons. Nick Diaz certainly comes to mind as one that I don't know if you have any familiarity there, but for regular athletes, triathlon is the extreme test of their mettle. What do triathletes do for a rush?
I think for me, I've branched out even further into like ultra running and ultra, mountain biking and stuff like that. But for the most part, I sit on my butt. That's kind of the challenge.
Well, does that? I guess. Well, I can't imagine that there's much butt sitting going on as to be able to prepare for a triathlon such as this. But I guess beyond this big event coming up on June the 12th, well, what else is on the schedule, on the horizon for you?
After this, I put in a pretty good training block back here in Colorado, and then I head off to Europe for the summer. I'll be in France and Norway for July and August, doing some big tough events over there. So.
Are the Olympics on the horizon for you as well, as we talk about the Olympic versus the other type of triathlon?
Yeah, no, I'm not shooting for the Olympics. It's definitely the sport has kind of separated itself into a couple of different segments, and I'm definitely in the longer, more endurance-based stuff than the fast, crazy world of Olympic racing.
Last thing for you is there anyone that in this field, and I know you could pretty much say everyone wanting to be at the top of it, but is there anybody in this field that you will be circling as that's the guy that I have to beat? Any unofficial rivalries to speak of, I guess? I got plenty of years on most of the guys that I'm racing against these days, but I think anytime you're going into a race, you got to look at the returning champion. He's won there once, and he knows how to win on that course. So if Andrew Yoder's going to be there, I think he'll be a tough guy to beat. It's kind of a hometown race for him. The last thing, when you talk about the course, I guess the only thing that I could really draw to by way of comparison, they talk about the Boston Marathon and the last couple of miles of that being uphill. When we talk about the challenges maybe presented by different courses, is there anything about the Columbia course that maybe makes it different from the others?
It's just an honest, hard race. It is very hilly, and on both the bike and runs got some hills, and so a lot of times people are going out looking for PRs, setting their fastest time, and Columbia is not a course you do that. Columbia is a course where you go out and challenge yourself on a tough course.
How cold's the water this time of year?
I'm wondering that myself. That's the one thing I'm not a fan of is the cold water.
Indeed. Tim DeBoom, former Ironman Triathlon Champion, set to compete in the Tri-Columbia Triathlon. Information available at tricolumbia.org. Tim, where are we finding information on you? Your website? Are you doing Twitter?
I'm at timdeboom.com, and then EC Green Room on Twitter.
EC Green Rooms. Tim, we will be looking to send some followers your way. We wish you luck in the upcoming event, and certainly we'll be looking for big things in the future, and maybe a chance to bring you back on as defending champ at some point.
That would be great.
Sounds great, man. Good luck again.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. There goes Tim DeBoom again, former Ironman Triathlon Champion, set to compete in the Tri-Columbia Triathlon, and it is upcoming on June the 12th, Cambridge, Maryland, including I'm sorry, there is another event coming up on June the 12th in Cambridge, Maryland. The information for all of the entire schedule available at www.tricolumbia.org.